Hi, Chani
Hello.
Didi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you, Chani Didi, for joining us. Her name is Lakshmi Rajaram, but this is a chat with my inner and extended network of friends and family. So I am going to refer to them like I always do, and you will get used to it. Um,
It feels kind of odd if you call me by my formal name. So I prefer that you just call me like how we've always called each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right. So, Chini Didi, I'm just going to welcome everybody back to these conversations and then introduce you.
Sure.
Guys, welcome back to another episode of Within Arm's Reach. It started off with a very simple idea, which is that when the lockdown began, I started to connect with friends and family that I hadn't caught up with in a very long time. And I've always believed that everybody has a story because all of us are work in progress, all of us are on our own unique journey, and that everybody's story has something that all of us can learn from. So, and often in our search for inspiration, answers, etc., we tend to look far and wide, and sometimes we don't get exactly what we want. When there's a whole lot of wealth, right around us, if we just look around us amongst all the people we know. So thank you all for joining us. Ahmed, hi Sarita, Koya, Shivasai, and everybody else who's joined us. The guest I'm speaking to today, her name is Lakshmi Rajaram. She has had a corporate career of over 20 years with a six-figure US salary in learning and development, extremely successful, leading a large team, traveling 52 or 53 out of 56 weekends in a year, executing cutting edge corporate learning and development programs across the world. One fine day, she realized she couldn't do it anymore. And well, the end of that story is happy, but I thought she should share her story with all of us so that all of us will know that there is nothing, absolutely nothing more important than taking care of our health. Chinni Didi, thank you for joining us and for agreeing to share one of the most vulnerable parts of your journey.
Thank you so much, Deepu. That was a wonderful introduction, and I am very honored and privileged to be on your show and to be able to talk to all your viewers and share my experience. So, thank you for giving me this platform. Yes,
So, Chinni Didi,
extremely
today you are chief artist and facilitator at Meraki Soul Art, right? Which is an art
yes,
therapy group. You facilitate
yes,
workshops, right? Okay, so
workshops
I'm
there.
sorry, I missed that, so I just wanted to add that. But yes, so tell us about your journey, Didi. What happened that you had to stop working in this very successful corporate career?
Yeah. So yes, I was blessed and fortunate to have a very, very successful career and been living here in the States now for over 20, almost 22 years. So literally 20 of those 22 years were devoted to this career. Um, and as you said, a very, very hectic, long days, lots of travel, just a very high pressured environment, work environment. And for a while, it was extremely adrenaline rush, working in that kind of a high vibe environment. But then a few years into it, day in and day out, the travel, the long hours, the sleepless nights started to get to me. And I was not exactly paying attention to the signals that my body was trying to give me. So, it probably started with some type of a stomach upset or some type of a indigestion. And, you put it away thinking, oh, this must be like some one-time deal. And the one-time deal and shoving it aside kind of became almost like a chronic ailment where it started becoming so bothersome that getting to work was an issue. So fast forward, this situation kept getting worse and worse and worse, and my it was impacting my digestive system, my whole gut, in the sense that I wasn't able to eat anything, I wasn't able to keep anything within me. I would throw up, and my body would react very, very vigorously to food. So yes, I had lost a lot of weight. I was very low in my immune system. Basically, my body was starting to just say enough and no more pay attention to it. And so I think in hindsight, I should have paid attention to it sooner rather than later. But 3 years into it, the worst case was that the diagnosis wasn't coming out to be what it was. We were trying all sorts of trial and error methods. The doctors weren't able to pinpoint exactly what it was. Um, and it took about 3 years where one afternoon I was under the radiologist's table, on the radiologist's table, and he was actually scanning me. And while scanning me, he just interrupted the scan halfway through and said, "You need to go and get admitted for surgery right away." So, it ended up becoming very serious.
So, Didi, you said it took 3 years before you could be diagnosed, right? This is 3 years after you finally decided to pay it some attention,
Yes.
right? And this is, I just want to point out for all our viewers that it took a certain amount of time for her to realize that she needs to pay attention to this. She also shared that she was in such excruciating pain. She could not eat, and she would scream in pain, and she had to sleep separately from the family so that she doesn't wake other people up, and because everybody else had to go to work. And remember what I told you about her, she comes from a home where there are resources, and she traveled. You came to India as well, right, Didi? Where all did
Yes.
you go for your diagnosis?
I did. I did take second opinions and third opinions in India. In Hyderabad, there is a very famous Asia Institute of Inner Digestion or something in Nampally. I did go there. I met with some doctors there, and yes, it was an ongoing process. Resources were available. That wasn't a question. It was me trying to make a conscious decision in prioritizing my health over
Right.
and above my work, my job. It's always like, oh, but I have this meeting, I have this deadline, I have this tasks to accomplish or this project to fulfill, and that kind of was taking priority at the cost of my health. um,
Right.
so it was kind of to a point where I always say this, that if you can make a choice in your life before life makes a choice for you, because I think I was at that point where life made a choice for me and said, this much and no more, you are going to get admitted in the hospital. So yeah, I think it took 3 years to get to that point, unfortunately, and where the diagnosis was kind of severe. I had to go through a major surgery. But you know what? My every cell in my being understood that this was the right diagnosis. And this is how I'm going to heal. I'm going to get better because of this. So, yes, it was an extreme step. I hope no one has to go through that extreme step. But life changed for me
What
360
exactly
after that.
happened? What was the diagnosis?
Yeah, so it was a small intestine where the small intestine, a portion of my small intestine had restricted to a point where food wasn't able to pass. Even liquids wasn't able to pass from my stomach through the digestive system, and that's why I was throwing up. I couldn't hold any food down. So I had to go. So we have 3 meters of small intestine within our bodies. I learned a lot about science. So they had to actually open me up, and they took out a foot of my small intestine, 12 inches of my small intestine. They had to operate that out. They stitched the other two ends. And yeah, it was a slow recovery period. For 2 months, I was on a restricted diet and things like that. But then slowly, I was able to introduce everything into my diet. And now I pretty much am, healthy, touch wood, and I'm able to just, feel
So,
good, and do good.
and we're glad to hear that, and we're glad that you're here to share this story with us. And like I told you, you're looking in the pink of health right now, which we're all very happy about. Didi, you
Thank
said that
you.
life will bring you. If you don't make a choice, life will make a choice for you. So, what were some of the things, I mean, that were going on in your mind that you may have shared in weak moments, with your near and dear? When you were in pain, what were some of the thoughts that came to your mind?
Oh, it was extremely scary, Deepu. It was very scary. There was a lot of fear. Not, I think not just fear for your health. Initially it was the fear of how is this impacting my work. My work was my world. I led a large team, so my responsibility towards the team, towards the projects we had under, I mean, it was all about work. Work had consumed me, to such an extent that my health was not even something that I was considering, in light of what I had to do in terms of work, what I was answerable for, what I was responsible for. Um, and as things progressively worsened, the mindset started to shift about what good is work if you are not able to take care of yourself,
Right.
to a point where there was a very, very bleak moment in my life, probably like the where I was in the deepest pit, or the lowest point, abyss of my life during that, where I was consumed with pain. I wasn't getting a diagnosis. I didn't have any clue whether this would ever be able to be treated. I did have a very, very low moment where I thought this was what was going to cost my life. I did have that conversation with my husband that, I am not sure, because I'm not getting a treatment or a diagnosis on this. It was almost 3 years into trying this, into suffering with pain and suffering with this. And that was my lowest moment, I would say, where I felt like I was losing all hope, on whether at all this, I could sustain this. Because I don't know if I mentioned, but I had given up food and I was just surviving on a glass of coconut water every day. I wasn't able to eat or drink anything else. So, how long can a person survive like that, right? So that was kind of my lowest point. But then, then things changed. The miracle happened, the diagnosis happened, and doors started opening, where I live here in the US, and I don't know if you're aware, the healthcare system here is inundated, especially for surgeries. You have to line up 3 months, 4 months to get an appointment for a surgical appointment. You don't have appointments readily available. So when the radiologist saw my scans and immediately forwarded my report and my case to the surgeon, he's a specialist. The surgeon was a specialist, and he generally is booked for up to 6 months. He does not have an open surgical time slot. And so mentally, I was thinking I have to somehow be surviving this for 6 more months before I get scheduled for surgery.
Right.
But in a day, believe it or not, Deepika, in a day, the nurse from the surgeon's office called me and said, "There's been a cancellation. You're coming in tomorrow."
Wow.
I mean, that never happens in the US. It does not happen in the US. So I was very, very fortunate. And I knew, like, right away, right? You know that this is the right thing. And like, it was as if the universe was just making it happen for me. Like, every door was opening. The best surgeon was available. I got a date in one day, I got a date. And so everything just fast tracked from there. It was as if, like, all those 3 years of lost time was made up in the 1 week.
And
It was
aren't
like
we
that.
glad about that? Didi, you also said that you weren't able to get a diagnosis. One is, of course, you had not prioritized it yourself, your health. But the other, you mentioned, when you started looking for diagnosis, you weren't able to get the right diagnosis as well for a while. How is that possible? I mean, what happened?
Because the symptoms that I presented were similar to many possibilities. And every time I would go in, I would have more tests and more tests, and my blood work came out normal, and this test came out normal, and that test. And so the method that they were following here was, a trial and error. Let's eliminate what it is not, kind of a thing. So, every time I would go in for a thing, they would give me, okay, do this test and let's see how the results of this test come out. And well, the test results came out fine for whatever they were trying to find out. So then they said, oh, then that means it cannot be X. So let's try to, do a test to see if this is a Y or if this is a C or a D. So I think it took a while to get there because it wasn't a very common I was presenting some common symptoms, yet they were not able to pinpoint. So, I was presenting some digestion related symptoms. So they were treating me with some sort of medication to treat that, but that didn't help. It worsened, so the whole process took time. And like I said, it's not very easy to get appointments in the US with doctors. So every time I would reschedule an appointment, it would be 2 months down the road, 3 months down the road. So that kept prolonging the diagnosis time as well. So yeah, and during that time, the my symptoms just worsened and worsened and worsened. So yeah, it was getting to a point where I couldn't go to work. And so, yeah, there were some decisions that I had to take with respect to my work as well. But I'm sure you'll ask me that too.
Yes, yes. In fact, I'm going to come to that. No, that's fine. We can just, this should flow organically. And that's what I was coming to next. But in my head, I had this very metaphorical summary sort of thing, that sometimes, so at some point you prioritized your work, and then when you were probably your reports were coming out fine, you thought, okay, maybe something small, so I'll go back and continue to work. And sometimes when our bodies and our mind is when they're telling us something, I suppose there is a brain level, like a cognitive level thing, and there is something deeper within at the core, and you just have to keep
Yeah.
digging till you find it, rather than to ignore it and carry on because it could get worse. But the good part is, so now we move to, the part of the story, like Chinni Didi said, that the doors just started opening up for her once she knew she had the right diagnosis. And the next two parts I want to get to are what she means by doors started opening up. She took a call about letting go of her earlier work. And we will also talk about, I want her to share some of her anecdotes from the hospital. We'll go to, she was so eager to recover that she just put the doctors and the nurses were awestruck by her determination to recover. So, Didi, tell us some of the anecdotes from the hospital that absolutely zapped the nurses.
Yeah, definitely. So the day I was wheeled in for the for the operation, right? I mean, usually there were people all lined up because you're scheduled for different times, different surgeons, and so all these people were like sad and upset, or concerned, or full of fear, or whatever, whatever. But I have a video recording or a photograph somewhere that my husband took, because I had the biggest smile on my face as I was getting ready for operation theater. Like, they were changing me into scrubs, they were putting an IV line inside, the nurse was coming, the doctor was coming and talking, the anesthesiologist was coming and talking to me, and I had this big huge smile on my face, right? I was talking to my parents on my phone, because I inside, like you said, deep inside my core, I was just so relieved, so happy, that in knowing that this was the right thing to do. And it's finally here, and this is going to alleviate all my pain, all my suffering, all everything. So I went into the operating theater with the largest, biggest smile on my face. And I told my husband that I'm going to come back reborn. I'm going to be a different person when I come back. This is what I told him before I went into the operating theater. But anyways, fast forward. This was a major surgery, and usually in the US, again, for those of your audience people who don't know, everything is run by the insurance companies, for the healthcare insurance companies, and usually they do not pay for more than a day or two maximum days of post operation care in the hospital, including, when mothers have deliveries and
Okay.
C-sections and everything. They only pay for like 2 days. So literally after 2 days, you're discharged, because the insurance will not cover for any more extra days. And then you basically recover at home. In my case, I was in the hospital for 11 days. which is unheard of. At least I have not heard of that. But a couple anecdotes that I would share is that the first couple days soon after surgery, this nurse, so the nurses were monitoring me continuously. Every 2 hours, they would come in and they would check all my vitals and check all the, everything to make sure I'm okay or I'm doing good. And she kept coming in and she kept tapping the drip. There was a drip that was a line that was fed into me. And then on the first day, 2 times she came, and then on the Thursday, when the third day, when the nurse rotation changed, the nurse literally came and said, "Is this drip not working for you?" And I said, "No. What do you mean?" And she said, "This is the morphine drip, and it's showing me that 0 milliliters have been consumed. Is this drip not working for you?" So I said, "No, I've never pressed the pump." She had given me a hand pump. Like whenever I experienced pain, I'm supposed to press this hand pump, which would release the morphine into my system to help me ease the pain. So she kept coming and tapping that thing to see, like, is that not working? Is the pump not working? Is it not, releasing the morphine? And I said, "But I have never pressed the pump." And she just, like, her jaw dropped and she's like, why did you not press the pump? If you were in pain, you're supposed to press the pump. I said, "But this pain is nothing. This pain is nothing compared to what I went through for 3 years. I don't want to waste your morphine. Give it to somebody else who's in more pain than me. I can totally manage without it." So she just had a big laugh, and she was like so amazed because she brought me these tablets which were 1,000 mg pain pills to take for the first day, and I said, "Forget it. I can totally bear this pain." So so I right from day one, I think my attitude was something that the nurses found very amusing. And I was so so determined to get well, to get better, that I refused medication. There was another anecdote I'll share is about a medicine called heparin. So the first day after surgery, I was lying down. Obviously, I had had a major surgery and it was, my stomach was cut open, right? So
Yeah.
I was lying down, and because there is no mobility, they want to make sure that your blood circulation is fine in your body because you're stationary, you're lying down. So to prevent any kind of blood clotting that might happen because your body is stationary, they inject a medicine called heparin into your stomach. I don't know why it has to be injected into the stomach, but they inject this medicine into the stomach, and it's a couple of injections. It's very painful, and it's very, like, it burns. That medicine burns as it gets into your stomach. But unfortunately, they had to do that because you're lying down, and they don't want you to get blood clots. So I didn't know about that. The first day they came and they injected it, and it was like a horrible sensation. And then I asked the nurse, like, "How often am I going to have this?" She said, "You will be having this every 4 hours till you start walking for at least four hours a day."
Wow. Okay.
So I was like, okay. And so the first day I had this heparin injection twice, which was every 4 hours. And that's it. After my second time, I said, "I'm not going to have this injection anymore." So I started to get up and I started to walk. And initially it was very difficult, and it was just like 20 minutes of walking, and then I increased it. And then the second day or the second day, I think, the doctor comes in for his rounds, and he was very happy to see me and everything, and he's like, "Okay." So he was checking the chart, and he's like, "Okay, why does she only have 2 doses of heparin? Why didn't she have her heparin today?" And the nurse just started chuckling. She said, "This lady would not have a heparin because she's walking for 4 hours every day."
With
So
your
I,
tubes and hospital gown.
yes, so I still had all those appendages. I had my saline drip, I had, my blood pressure monitor. I had like 3 tubes connected to me, and I would carry my tubes in a kind of like a stand, and I would drag. The stand had rollers under it, so I would drag the stand with the rollers along the hallways. past the nurse's station, and I would keep reminding me, this is hour 2. I'm doing this for 2 more hours, so that I could not, so that because I did not want that heparin injection. So they just like, they knew that, I am a fighter, and I just want to heal, and I want to heal fast. So
And
yeah.
that's
Um,
definitely something that is not so common in everybody, because that amount of pain, a lot of people would have just said, give me the goddamn morphine. And you know uh,
correct.
that level of determination is something else. Sanya Gandhi says, love your determination. Padma Didi is
Oh,
also here. She says, awesome, Chini.
At the time, Deepu, at the time, it wasn't even so much that I was consciously thinking about determination. It was just that I was so happy to be pain free from what I experienced. Only I know what I went through in terms of that degree of excruciating pain, that anything that followed after the surgery seemed nothing in comparison, seemed nothing. Like, I was so relieved. I was so happy to get my life back, to have a literal second birth, that this was a no-brainer for me. I was like, just walking? Is that all you're asking me to do, is I should walk? That's the least I can do. That's the least I can do, is I can walk. So yeah, it was a no-brainer. So I don't know. At that point, I didn't think about determination. I was just thinking how grateful I am. I was
Right.
extremely full of gratitude for having a excellent surgeon, for being able to get an appointment in 2 days' time after my final diagnosis, and being relieved of this pain, that everything else that followed was just a no-brainer to me.
So even some of our, so we have Namrita here. She says, your smile shows up all positivity and healing everything. She says, love your smile. So
Thank you so much, Namrata. Thank you.
and Asma Didi sends her love. Hi Santosh, thanks for joining. Hi Edward. Hi John. Okay, so now we're moving to the next part of the story, which is, you, like I mentioned, you said the doors started opening up, and once you recovered, you told Raja Bhaiya that you're going to be reborn, and once you came out of surgery, recovered, etc., you said that you didn't want to go back to the same job. Is that right?
Right, right. So, I don't know why I said those words before going to the inside the operation theater, that I will come back a new person, I will be born anew, because those words could not be more true. I came back with a renewed spirit, with a literally, I called myself, Chini version 2.0 when I came back. Like, I had referenced myself as that, like, this is 2.0, a completely new person. Not just physically, of course, physical had to do, it was a major part, right? My whole body went through a physical change. So the mindset, mindset was a very, very big part of this that also changed. And I decided to take some time to focus on my body, make myself the priority. Um, as I said, there was a slow beginning to the diet. I have to say, my brother and sister-in-law flew in and surprised me in the hospital. I had no clue that they were coming. They flew in from India on day 4. I was trying to speak, and I was trying to get in touch with them in the hospital, and I was speaking with my parents, and I couldn't get a hold of Ramesh, my brother, and my sister-in-law Mahi. And I was getting upset, like, why am I not able to get in touch with them? And my parents did not want to break the surprise to me. But lo and behold, day 4 in my hospital, these two people walk in, and I just couldn't hold my emotions any much more longer. So, I was so blessed. I just was full of gratitude that my family supported me. My husband was my rock, my backbone. He was there throughout. He has seen me go through everything in the past 3 years leading up to this. So he didn't even blink an eye, Deepu, when I told him that I want to take a break. I want to not go back to my life that I had before. this is a huge life transformational change for me, and this is what I want to do. What do you have to say? He didn't even blink to give me an answer. It's like, if that's what makes you happy, do it. You know, that was how much support I had from my loved ones, from my near and dear ones. Again, I'm extremely fortunate to have had that support, which allowed me to focus on my recovery, to focus on my healthy eating, because I had to, watch my diet for some time. And Mahi and Ramesh were here at home, making sure that I got all the right nutrition in me, I got all the right exercise. We we used to go to Target. I don't know if Ramesh is on the call, but we used to go to Target.
Mahi has just
I would
joined. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi, Mahi. Perfect timing, because I'm just sharing this that Ramesh and Mahi and me, we used to go to
That's
Target.
Chini
Um,
Didi's brother and sister-in-law, Ramesh and Mahi. Yes.
yeah, and they live in India, so they came here to surprise me during my surgery. Um, and Target is this huge department store here. And we would go there not to shop, but just to walk. And he and she would take me walking aisle by aisle by aisle by aisle. Just we would go all over Target and walk for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then come back home, and that would be our walk for the day. And then Ramesh would drive the car here, because initially I was not allowed to drive heavy machinery. So they were a very, very big part of my recovery, of my journey. They are my soulmates, they are my family, and so they were just here in a heartbeat, in a flash, leaving their life behind, their priorities, what have you, and they were here with me. um, Ramesh making sunny side up, eggs in the morning for breakfast, while Mahi was with me in the hospital for 11 days. I mean, they did everything possible to just keep my morale high and just be there in supporting, in moral support, right? It was
And I
huge.
think it also is an important lesson for all of us that how your family is probably they're the most important people, and often we prioritize so many other things and so many other people over time
Yeah,
spent with family. But when push comes to shove, it's those people that are going to come to our rescue. And I think another important thing is that you were willing to receive help for your recovery. You were happy to receive help. And I think that also, asking for help and taking help is also a very, very brave thing. I would love for the viewers to take away that your resources are not just our resources are not just the money we have, to recover, but more so our attitude and people who are willing to help us recover. These are very, very important resources in the
right.
recovery
And I would
process.
just add one more thing that, it was a huge risk. You asked me earlier, I was full of fear. At one point, the fear and the risk was more about what will others think of me. If I
Right.
decided to say that I'm not going back to my corporate career, what will X person say? What will Y person think? What will the society say? What will, all those fears, all those things came to my mind. And as you said, the most important are your loved ones, the ones who are nearest and dearest to you. What do they feel? Because they have seen you, the others never even knew. On social media, I was still going to work through all this, like through the 3 years of everything, but people didn't know. It was my extremely inner circle who knew about what was going on. By that, I mean my family people and maybe one or maybe two friends, maybe, but I was still out there. I was still participating in social events, socializing, doing things, putting myself out there, traveling, doing all sorts of things through this pain. But it's like, I did not want the world to know, because I did not want them to. What would they think of it? What would they make of it? And so this huge decision, life-changing decision to uh, leave the corporate career and make a choice for yourself and prioritize yourself was a very big risk that I took. Considering the fact that I was like, okay, I don't want to think about what others are thinking about me, as long as my family support is there, and I feel good, within my core taking this decision, then that's the right thing for me to do.
Yeah, and you know the what I was thinking as you were sharing that is that we're so enthusiastic about sharing all the good that's happening with us, but we're so fearful of sharing things that
Yeah,
are not going so well, and which is one of the reasons I thought that your story was so important to share with people, because you know I think it's important to let each other know that it is okay to not feel okay all the time. We're all not okay at some
yep,
point, and that's perfectly okay to prioritize ourselves and our health and how we're feeling over everything else. And also, about this fear about what the world is going to think about us. I mean, the world is not going to put up with our pain. We are going to put up with our pain, and it's the ones closest to
exactly.
us who are going to watch us and feel bad for us. So, you know, that's I
Yep,
think a huge takeaway. So, Didi,
absolutely.
moving to so what did you do? I mean, you decided to give up the job, but you know we all know that you are a very energetic person. We can all see that. So you must have had to do something to keep yourself occupied. So what were the next steps?
Yeah,
How did you decide to do that?
yeah. Exactly. And everything that I'm about to share now was not planned at all. So I want your viewers to know this, that I did not have a planned thoughtful process to this, that, oh, I'm going to do X and then I'm going to do Y. And probably that was my past life, which was very streamlined, very planned, very structured. This everything post my surgery, everything happened very organically. It came to me, and my inner core spoke to me and said, do this, so that is how things started to evolve and shape. So I have been on and off meditator for 20 years, but whenever things got busy at work, the meditation just took a back seat. And so one of the things that came to me was that I want to reinvigorate myself and um, revive my meditation practice. So I started focusing, like I said, the priority became me and my inner health, not just physically, but mental, spiritual health. So I started practicing meditation regularly, and more for longer durations. And through that, I don't know, there was so much of benefits that I was starting to realize. Through that, things started to happen. I started to engage and meet with people that connected me to different things. And so I got involved in a more a formal meditation yoga program. I started to involve myself deeper into that, practice beneficial, I call them kriyas, meditative practices, that breathing, that focus on the breath, that focus on just your mind, body, spirit, aligning those together. So literally, the healing started from within outside, right? Like, I wanted to make sure that my inner self, the deepest part of me, is healed, is strong, is vibrant, is healthy. That is where my focus started to going. So yoga came to be, meditation came to be, and somewhere along the way, during this 20 years of my career, there was a creative aspect of me. You know that my mom is extremely talented, very creatively oriented. My aunts, I come from a family of women who are extremely creatively oriented. They do a lot of handmade stuff, handicrafts, embroidery, cross stitch, what have you, painting. So somewhere in me, I knew that I had it, but I never was able to express it because everything else took priority. And somehow a part of me after this surgery started focusing more on my creative aspect. So I started painting more. I started spending time writing, like poetry. I started journaling. I started journaling my journey through this, and I would only share it with my husband, and he would read it, and he would get so emotional. He was like, I didn't know you could write like this, so I said, even I didn't know I could write like this. So there were so many things that just started happening. And so because of that, somebody approached me and said, do you want to write a play? And I said, write a play? wow, like I've never done that. I've never written a play. And she just said, no, I think you write so beautifully. You should just do it. And a couple of my friends just supported me, encouraged me, and pushed me into it literally. So it was way outside my comfort zone. But then it was a very big success.
This
We
is
have a
what you
fringe
meant by
festival.
doors opening up, huh?
Doors just open. I never went and asked for it. I never sought it. I never
Right.
seeked this. Somebody just, saw something that I had written, and then they approached me. So yeah, we did a play, which was very well received.
What was the
I
festival you said? Uh,
it's called the Fringe Festival. It's the
okay.
Minnesota Fringe Festival. It's a yearly festival of performing arts, and so there's a lot of theater, dance, drama, play, improv, those types of stage performing arts festival. And so this was a play that was showcased there. And then people who came to watch the play reached out to me and said, we want you to produce, direct, write, and coordinate this huge, massive charity show, which was a 2-hour dance drama stage show with 100 participants and everything. And so one thing led to the other, and it just organically took a life of its own. And I kept up with my yoga. I still do every day with my meditation and my yoga practices. And just recently, less than 2 months, so just before the corona lockdown happened, I have been thinking about starting a workshop for healing through art. Because art has been a very big part of my healing, not just my physical body healing, but my mental healing, being able to prioritize and focus on well-being, and finding that peace and joy from within. So because art was such a big part of that, I wanted to share that as a joyful thing with others, because we live in such stressful times. So I wanted to give back, and I founded the Meraki Soul Art page, and I started to offer art workshops as a way to connect with your innermost, highermost self, and to find that joy and peace and healing through art. Um, and then the Corona lockdown happened, and I was like, oh, I was thinking about doing this in person. Now, I wasn't expecting, everything was shut down. We are all under lockdown, and so life took its own course, and we had to change our strategy a little bit, and I shifted to doing it online. And I've been offering these classes, art classes, online through my art page. And an even better result of that is, through my art page right now, I have been donating all of the proceeds from my art workshops and art classes towards the making of masks, sewing of masks, and shields and gowns for healthcare workers as protective equipment that they are using in their hospitals and in their clinics. So, I'm very actively involved in fundraising and supporting our local community, medical doctors, healthcare, policemen, first responders for coronavirus affected cases. So that is where my journey has been, and who knows what's to come, but I'm just letting it come. It's all happening in a
Kept
beautiful,
your
organic
mind
way.
and your heart open, and you're allowing things to come to you. You're attracting things that go well with your core.
Yes,
We have
absolutely.
some messages. So Mahi is sending love. She says, love the impact of your recovery. I trust that's what she means. And she said, the only way you can solve the problem is by acknowledging that we're facing one. Padma Didi says, that was an awesome play. I followed the posts at the time. And she says she's loving the kids' mandala designs and how people are responding. Thank you for sharing these comments. Ginny Didi, I have two more questions. Okay, one is about people who can't, you know, who probably don't have the same option or don't want to take the option of quitting the corporate space altogether. The other, so I'll come to that next. There's Sanya, who's been listening very patiently to our conversation and really been absorbing everything. She said she also loves your skin and wants to know whether you have any skincare routine that you can share.
No. Tanya, thank you so much. You're a sweetheart. No skincare routine. I was telling Deepika, Deepu, don't set up this call before 8 a.m. I would be my groggy self. It's morning over here. The sun is shining. It's a bright, beautiful day, spring day here. So you're probably just seeing the light fall on my face. Actually, I need to change my angle a little bit because the light is starting to just fall on my face now even more. But no, dear, no special skincare routine at all. I don't use much makeup. And especially we have been in lockdown for almost 2 months. So, it's I have not touched my makeup kit at all, whatever little I have. Um, but thank you for the thank you for the compliment.
I think we can attribute part of it to, her genes and her general mental makeup, and the other part of it to her happiness and her
From
transformation,
inside, no
right?
doubt about it. No doubt
Yeah.
about it, Deepu. Wellness comes from the inside. So yes, if you feel healthy within you, in deep inside, it is going to reflect out on the outside. So um, I
Tanya
do believe in
agrees.
that.
She says she also is chuckling along with us and saying just happiness from within, maybe. And yeah, that's probably right. You should follow some of Tanya's posts. She's also very inward looking, very thoughtful person. Thanks, Tanya,
Thank you.
for your participation and your questions. So, one last question, Didi, that I had. Is that what would you recommend, like, not all of us have the choice to leave work altogether, in terms of remunerative work, because sometimes when you start out on your own it might take some amount of time before you can actually generate income. There is a gestation period by the time you market yourself, etc. And some people may not have the wherewithal to do that, and they might actually have to go back to a job.
Yes.
What do you think people like that should do in order to make sure that they don't, if they've already had a health problem, that they don't recede, regress back into it, or in general, I mean, about taking care of yourself,
Yeah. No,
while you're
definitely.
in a job?
Very, very good question, Deepu. And like I kept saying, I was extremely fortunate to have the support of my family and loved ones to help me make that decision and support my choice. But I totally get it that that's not a that's something very difficult for everyone to do. The
Right.
circumstances are different for each person. I would say there are a couple of ways that you can do this. Certainly, you don't have to give up on your dream. You don't have to give up on your work, or if that is your dream, if that is your passion, by all means, please stay with that. But maybe have some boundaries. As women, we are not very good with setting boundaries. I know that about myself, and I'm sure a lot of women listening to this, particularly women, might be able to resonate with this because women are born multitaskers. We love to juggle multiple things. We are made that way. We have our career, we are a mother, we are a daughter, we are a friend, we are everything to everyone at the same time. And so our lines are very blurred. We are not able to draw clear cut lines and boundaries to say, this is my work time, this is my time to be a mom, this is my time to be a friend, or what have you. So I think taking some time to really, really establish clear boundaries and stick to that, hold yourself accountable to those boundaries, will help you prioritize your life. All those multiple things that you're trying to juggle will help you prioritize while staying true to your job or your career or whatever you want to focus on. That is one thing. The second thing is, I did this. I asked for help. I mean, ask for help. Help from your family members, from your husband, or from your loved ones. Or if you are in a position to hire some help, maybe your children need a tutor, enroll them in tutoring so that you are not spending 4 hours after a full day of work helping them finish their homework, right? Whatever you can, whatever is within your means, there are so many supportive things available to you today. So utilize those so that you don't feel burdened by trying to manage it all, and you carve out one thing I would definitely say, whether you're a career woman, whether you're a home person, whether you are a entrepreneur, whatever, carve out some me time for you. Whether it's on a weekly basis or a daily basis, whatever is your comfort level, carve out some me time. And the definition of your me time would be different for all of you. For me, it was my time to do my kriya, and my meditation is my me time. Everybody in the family knows not to disturb me. They give me my space. They don't even turn on the volume of the television when I'm doing this. That's just something that they have accepted, and they are supporting me in that. So for you, it might be something else. Painting might
Right.
be your me time, or going out for a walk in nature might be your me time. It could be different for everybody, but just find that me time and do not compromise on it, because the value and the benefit of that is immense. It's immense. It regenerates you, it rejuvenates you, it gives you that energy to carry on with your day in, and most importantly, it keeps your attitude healthy. And that's a huge part of your immunity. So pay attention to that, because I disregarded all those signals that my body was trying to tell me early on. Please pay attention to your body. Is this divine instrument. It is so magnificent. Pay attention to the signals that it's trying to send to you, when you are ill, or when you are having a pain, when you are having a sleepless night, when you're having indigestion. Don't put it off as just a one-time thing. Pay attention to it. It's trying to tell you something, and take
Right.
corrective action sooner rather than later. Don't be in a situation like mine. Just make some me time for
Don't
yourself.
allow
So
life to make the choice for you.
yeah, you make the choice for your
Right.
life. Don't let life make a choice for you.
Yeah, thank you, Didi, for sharing that. And the other thing which I was sharing with you the other day as well, Padma Didi also says, we take on everything and we put everybody else, um, put everybody else before us. And also, thank you, Salman, Likhita. I know a lot of people joined. Gunjeen, thank you, Tina. Shri Moi, thank you all for joining this conversation. This is a conversation I want to put up on YouTube and share soon, because I think a lot of people will find value in it. So in case you missed the initial part, you'll find it on YouTube. So you talked about multitasking, and even Padma Didi said that we women often tend to put everybody else ahead of themselves. And I think we're at a perfect time. These changes were already happening. I think this thing about women multitasking is a very strong cultural message across the world, not just in India but across the world. It's a cultural message that we have somehow internalized, like the world has internalized. And maybe we're at an opportune time. Hi, Brian. Opportune time to change that, because I'm sure men could multitask just as well. Human beings can adapt and learn new tricks. So this may be a great time for all of us to teach each
Absolutely.
other.
Now that we are all at home, it's not just that a particular bread earner is going out of the house to earn bread. Everyone is literally stuck at home, working at home. Those of us who have the option of taking our jobs and working from home, they are appreciating each other for responsibilities at home, taking care of the children. There's distance learning, so parents are taking turns. Someone is going and doing the grocery. It doesn't matter which gender is going out to do the grocery. The other one is doing the housework. So there's a more appreciation of each other's work, and
Right.
division of labor inside the home. So yeah, there's a lot to be thankful for, even though we are in these uncertain, challenging, scary times. There's a lot to learn from this. There's a lot that you can do. Just even let not the fact that you are at home restrict you. There's so much that can be done. There's so much you can give back. There's so much you can improve on yourself, learn a new skill, or teach somebody else a new skill, or share your experience with someone. Spread the joy, spread the cheer, spread positivity. That's how I'm facing into this time. I have been more busy during the lockdown than before. Which
Yes,
is
all
good,
the
a good busy, a good busy.
yeah. all the best with the good work you're doing with the creative art therapy classes and supporting all the frontline warriors, the Corona warriors. We wish you all the best with that for Meraki Soul Art. Is that what the page is called? So,
Yes, and
guys,
Meraki is a Greek word for those of you who don't know. Meraki means to put your soul and your passion in and creativity and love into something that you do. So
right.
that is me. That kind of defines me. But thank you, Deepika, and thanks to all the viewers, Padma, Tanya, everybody who took some time out to listen to this. I know Padma is a healthcare worker, and props to you, Padma. Thank you so much for
Oh,
everything
I
that
didn't know
you
that.
know. Yes, and she is watching this from work.
Yes.
She's listening into this from work. So yes, over here, Padma, we are doing a lot to support our healthcare community here, our doctors, our nurses, our frontline responders. So I hope you are getting all the care, all the love from your community to support you in this brave, courageous role that you and your colleagues are taking on. And Deepika, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my story, to allow me to be vulnerable. And that's part of my inner healing, is to be able to come out and openly talk about what I went through, in the hopes that it will, inspire others and probably give them a moment of pause to take stock of what their life has been and how they can make positive changes and improvements in that. So thank you so much.
The gratitude is mutual. Thank you very much, and thank you so much to all our viewers. As I close this conversation, a gentle reminder to prioritize your health above everything else, because if you have your health, you will be able to create everything else for yourselves. We will be able to for ourselves, and you make the choice. Don't let life make the choice for you. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys soon.
Love you,
Stay
Deepu.
home and
Thank
stay
you.
safe. Love you too.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye.